Good morning, everyone. Today, we delve into the profound legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., whom we aptly call the strategic dreamer. We'll explore how his philosophy was put into action, deconstructing his powerful methodology, acknowledging the immense human cost he bore, and recognizing the unfinished work that remains. This analysis will frame Kingian nonviolence not merely as an ideology, but as an aggressive, tactical system designed to dismantle systemic injustice at its core. Kingian nonviolence was built upon three foundational pillars. First, its theology drew heavily from the social gospel and the concept of Christian love, or agape, emphasizing care for both body and soul. Second, its philosophy was rooted in personalism, a doctrine King studied at Boston University, which upholds the inherent dignity and worth of every human personality. And third, the method was inspired by Gandhi's Satyagraha, a powerful love force dedicated to social reform. As King himself famously stated, Christ furnished the spirit and motivation, while Gandhi furnished the method. This sophisticated approach to change was distilled into the 6 steps of nonviolent change. It begins with information gathering, determining if injustices truly exist. Then, education, to inform and galvanize the community. This is followed by personal commitment, demanding spiritual preparation and a pledge to non-retaliation. Next comes negotiation, where one directly confronts the oppressor. If negotiation fails, direct action is employed to create a constructive, creative tension. Finally, the ultimate goal is reconciliation, striving for what King called the beloved community. These steps, drawn from sources like his Letter from Birmingham Jail and Kingian training manuals, formed the bedrock of his strategy. A pivotal moment in King's personal commitment came on January 30, 1956. Following the bombing of his home, with his wife and infant child inside, he faced an armed mob demanding retaliation. In that moment of immense personal danger, King stood firm, saying, "If you have weapons, take them home. We cannot solve this problem through violence. We must meet violence with nonviolence." This unwavering stance after a direct threat to his family solidified his path. The outcome of this period was significant: 381 days of sustained economic pressure on the Montgomery bus system, which ultimately led to the Supreme Court ruling against segregation on public transportation. In his powerful manifesto, Why We Cannot Wait, King articulated crucial insights. He argued that time is neutral. It can be used constructively or destructively, but merely waiting almost always meant never. He highlighted the moral imperative to challenge unjust laws, defining them as any code out of harmony with the moral law. His timeless conviction, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, underscored the interconnectedness of human rights. The Birmingham Campaign, a strategic masterclass, followed 4 key steps: meticulous fact collection, attempts at negotiation, a period of self-purification for participants, and finally, direct action to expose the injustice. In 1963, during his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, King used a powerful metaphor: the promissory note. He painted the U.S. Constitution as a promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all its citizens. Yet, for Black Americans, this promissory note had been a breach of promise, a check marked insufficient funds. But he declared a powerful demand: we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. It was a resolute call for the nation to honor its sacred obligations to all its people. By 1964, King embodied what he termed audacious faith, the refusal to accept the isness of present racism for the oughtness of the future. It was a radical optimism rooted in conviction, not naivety. He famously proclaimed, "I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality." This faith propelled him forward, even when the path seemed darkest. Yet, beneath the public persona, there was the shadow of the dream, the immense internal cost borne by King. We often overlook the profound personal struggles: 2 suicide attempts before age 13, severe depression and exhaustion in his 30s. He carried the incredible weight of empathy for his people's suffering, coupled with constant death threats. Despite this internal darkness, his audacious faith allowed him to persevere, demonstrating incredible resilience in the face of overwhelming pressure. On April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, King delivered his poignant, mountaintop speech. He was there to support the sanitation workers' strike, signaling a crucial shift in his focus from primarily civil rights to broader human rights and economic justice. In that prophetic address, he spoke of seeing the promised land, acknowledging, "I may not get there with you. But we, as a people, will get to the promised land." The next day, his life was tragically cut short, but his vision endured. The strategic application of Kingian nonviolence yielded significant dividends. The most notable, first dividend, was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This landmark legislation banned discrimination in public accommodations, outlawed employment discrimination under Title VII, and effectively dismantled the oppressive Jim Crow legal system. It was the moment when the promissory note, spoken of earlier, was finally and partially cashed, marking a monumental step towards equality. As we look at 2024, we must confront the unfinished work. The National Urban League's Equality Index reveals that Black Americans currently stand at 75.7% of full equality. This means that if 100% represents complete parity, Black Americans are still missing approximately 24% of the pie, a stark reminder that the dream is not yet fully realized. This equality gap manifests across various sectors of life. While there have been gains, disparities persist. For example, in health, the index is 88.6% in education, 74.8%, and in social justice, 55.7%. However, the most elusive goal remains in economics, at just 65.6%. 60 years after the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, achieving true economic parity continues to be a formidable challenge. Today, modern threats to the dream continue to emerge. We see challenges in voting rights, with strict ID requirements and restricted access undermining democratic participation. In education and labor, the dismantling of affirmative action threatens progress towards equity. And in the political sphere, an anti-civil rights agenda is increasingly infiltrating our courts, threatening to strip away hard-won protections. We simply cannot stand by while these vital laws are stripped of their power and impact. King's ultimate vision was, the World House, a great reunion. He famously said, "We have inherited a large house in which we must live together." In today's context, diversity and inclusion represent the modern application of his ideal of the beloved community. His timeless message resonates now more than ever: together we must learn to live as brothers, or together we will be forced to perish as fools. It's a call for universal understanding and coexistence. Therefore, we must not be silent. From the historic struggles of 1963 to the realities of 2024 and looking toward the future, King's words guide us. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We have a collective responsibility to bend that arc. We can achieve this by following 4 key actions. First, educate yourselves and others. Second, advocate for policies that promote justice. Third, vote to ensure our voices are heard. And fourth, operationalize the dream in our daily lives and communities. Join the movement and find resources at NUL.org and the King Center.org. Thank you.